My name is Donald Trump, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the spring season of this, the 22nd year of the Arts Café Mystic. Had you all forgotten that this is April Fool's Day? Which since medieval times has celebrated the playing of practical jokes, so beware. That said, I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight. For those of you new to the Arts Café, and I know there are a few of you out there, we are an independent nonprofit, and our mission is to present the nation's most celebrated poets and writers, along with New England's finest musicians, in programs that lift your spirits while deepening your minds. And if we have a little fun along the way, Donald Trump would approve. Youth will be served, and every dog will have its day, said the bard. Though we can never seem to wrangle any dogs for our programs, this first show of our spring season is always a special one because it annually celebrates young artists. And what better setting for tonight's show than these galleries festooned as they are with the Mystic Museum of Art's annual Young at Art show. And to this, or add to this, some cool music and a chance to hear Kate Rushin read her poems, and we have the makings of a memorable evening. So let's get on with it. As part of our annual Youth Will Be Served show, we are pleased to honor the Student Poets Laureate of the region's high schools. The young artists we're honoring tonight have been selected for this recognition by their school's faculty, and they've earned the distinction of being their school's best and brightest poets. Now, celebratory honors are all right and a good thing, but we've also factored in some practical provisions for the Student Poets Laureate. First and foremost, this afternoon they participated in a special poetry writing masterclass conducted by tonight's featured poet, Kate Rushin. A rare opportunity, I would say, for aspiring writers to work with an extensively published poet. Indeed, they could not have selected a better teacher and model. We're also pleased to award each of the student poets the very practical consideration of a $100 Arts Café prize check. So let's meet these talented people. Thank you. Thank you. We'll give out more checks in the future. We'd like to introduce you to these wonderful young people, give them their honors, give you a chance to meet them, and then we'll bring them back up to read some of their fine poems. To begin with, the Poet Laureate of Montville High is Caitlin Castro. Caitlin is a senior whose favorite subjects are psychology and law. She will soon be inducted into her school's Thespian Society and is also president of the LGBT plus Youth Club. She's unsure where she'll go to college, but aspires to be a writer and an English literature teacher. Hurrah! Her favorite writers are the superb Peter Orner and Southeast Connecticut's own great Wally Lamb. She especially loves Orner's poetic style, and most especially his novel, Love and Shame and Love, which I commend to you. She began writing at the age of 8, and has considered herself a writer ever since. She writes because when she read her first really good book, something stirred in her heart. And now her goal is to do the same for her readers. She reports that poetry saved her and maybe someday she can save poetry. Won't you please congratulate Caitlin Castro? The poet laureate of Fitch High is Grace Clark. Remarkably, she is a freshman who has been writing stories and poems since first grade. When not writing, she does ballet and modern dance. After graduating from high school, she hopes to travel to Europe and to write some more. Among her favorite writers and her #1 inspiration is the ubiquitous J.K. Rowling. Grace reports that writing is a way for her for temporary escape. She especially likes to write poems because there are so many styles of poetry and because there is no wrong way to write it. Right or wrong, won't you please join me in congratulating Grace Clark? The poet laureate of the Norwich Free Academy is Olivia Pecoraro. Olivia is a junior who thrives in her art, English, and sociology classes. She also competes for NFA's fencing team, performs in the band, and is a member of the Writers Club. She aspires to be a psychologist, but hasn't settled on college plans yet. Olivia is a fan of the poems of Oscar Wilde and Edgar Allan Poe, and particularly loves Poe's great and strange poem, Annabel Lee. Interestingly, she reports that she writes her poems to assuage her anxieties and keep her conscience clear. So clear conscience and all, won't you please congratulate NFA's Poet Laureate, Olivia Pecoraro. The Poet Laureate of Waterford High is Naomi Jones. Nay is a multi-talented junior who is a member of her school's dance club and team and has been involved in Writer's Block Inc. and the New London Talent Show. She's also a leader in the International Family Workshop Center's Young Ladies of Purpose. She aspires to be a poet and writer and admires the work of the great Maya Angelou and Rita Dove. But most especially, as a performance poet, she is moved by the spoken word artist Adela Shepard. She reports that she writes her poems through sheer inspiration, as one of God's outlets for change. She hopes in turn to inspire her generation to become the change it so desperately seeks. Won't you please join me in congratulating Naomi Jones of Waterford High. The Poet Laureate of Stonington High is Ruby Lee Robinson. Ruby is a senior whose favorite class is anatomy. Aren't these remarkable young people? She also competes on the swimming team and is captain of the Westerly Wise team, where she is also a swimming instructor and lifeguard. In addition, she plays clarinet in the band and is captain of Stonington High's flag team. These kids have lots of free time, you can imagine. She aspires to help people by becoming a nurse. Indeed, next year she plans to begin studying nursing at Southern Maine U or Rhode Island College. She credits her creative writing teacher, Mary Lou Devine of Stonington High, for inspiring her and giving her the skills to write her poems. Her favorite poets are the great Mary Oliver and the especially great Sharon Olds because they are in love with the world. Won't you please join me in congratulating Ruby Robinson of Stonington High. Lastly, the poet laureate of Ledyard High is Olivia Triplett. She's a senior whose favorite subjects have always been biology, public speaking, and choir. Not surprisingly, she is a Yukon Marine Sciences scholar, captain of her school's National Ocean Sciences Bowl team, and a leader in the Music Honor Society. She has also found time to win awards for writing speeches and essays. She plans to attend college in Boston, one of them BU, BC, Tufts, or Harvard. She reports that she writes poems to express emotions and that she finds hard to articulate in everyday speech, and to help people understand things, particularly on women's issues. Her favorite poet is the supernal Emily Dickinson, in part because of Dickinson's balance between pure feeling and intellectualism, and because Olivia always supports women doing what they love. Won't you please join me in congratulating Olivia Triplett. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Poets Laureate of Eastern Connecticut. So, let's hear them read some poems, huh? That's what we're all here for. Let's begin first with the Poet Laureate of Montville High, Caitlin Castro.
Ophelia. Ophelia, with your golden curls that put the sun to shame, with the windows to your soul that were oceans, I could not find you beneath those blues turned black when you fell asleep, so I breathed you in and made note of how your hair smelled of raspberries and fresh-cut grass and all things sad. Bless your starlight smile and the hungry way you look at me. And how could I ever hide from you? There was no corner of the earth you had not found, and so I escaped into the galaxy, and I ran until the stumps of my feet were swallowed up with tears that you drew from my eyes, because you're a greedy ocean, and the riptide is even more so. And I'm trying my hardest, but Ophelia, there's nowhere else to run except into your cold, stiff embrace. Home calls your name between pages of Shakespeare, and I'm still here. I'm here waiting for you between candles and rose petals and worry. You can't fix the broken bones he shattered so many years ago, and for that, I'll whisper your name to God and beg him to write your name in the stars, because you've been so gentle, because you're the only one who understands me, Ophelia. Fall in love while you're still young and a heart still means something. Throw away those love letters and never go home. Lie down in the back of that old rusty truck and whisper sweet nothings to me, Ophelia. I'm just looking for a way for you to comfort me and make me feel loved, because my heart is weary and tired and lonely and desperate for the high you deliver me. My dear, I had so much love in store for you and I, but you insisted on shouldering the blame for my sins, transposed between a steady salted wind and the summer monsoons that ravaged my mind without an eye of the hurricane or a sign of hope. And I'm trying, I swear to you I am trying, but I need some form of compromise. I want to go back to the tire swing days without this rotting sadness. You're my sweet love, Ophelia. I know your poems like I know my own name. Somehow we'll make it through these trying times. And I'll treasure those baby blues of yours, learn your name like a mantra in the dead of summer heat on a Sunday. And at night, when those eyes light up the glow lights in your room, I'll make sure your eyes will open again in the morning. Non-existent. They say she doesn't exist, but I know she does. She exists in the fragile light of a waning moon above a clouded sky, watching over the world as if it belongs to her. She exists in the cold breath of spring when the sky blesses the earth with her tears, and it uses her and manipulates her and controls her for her nourishment. She is there when the moss garden on your windowsill reaches for the sun with open arms. She is the tide washing away the footsteps of two childhood friends turned lovers. They say she doesn't exist, but I know she does. She's more than just chemicals in the brain. She's the girl at the ripe age of 16 that wanders the shipyard, pallid and bony and made of all things weak and translucent. She is everything and she is nothing. She is the dead grass clinging to life in your weed-ridden backyard and the high in your head when you've been looking into his eyes for a moment too long, but never enough. She is all your failures and every aspirin you swallowed and every promise to a new start. They say she doesn't exist, but I know she does. She's the boy who sits in the back of the class, dreaming of his mother's long-gone face. She's you, sitting on the edge of a building, begging for the sweet embrace of death, the should I do it that crosses your mind after life becomes too heavy on your shoulders, and there's tears streaming down your face, and nothing can fix the shambles of the life you've destroyed. She's the harmony to a song that is never quite heard under the melody. She's brown eyes and blonde hair and forced happiness. They say she doesn't exist, but I know she does. She's your first time, clumsy and hopeful and experimental in the slip of those three words, gentle hands that tremble with nervous excitement and the apologies afterward. She's vegetables doused in curry sauce at 3 a.m. shared with someone special. She is there in your heart when for once you don't have to look rejection in the eyes and accept it as fate. This love is real, and he's real, and you are real. You are enough. She's there when you've gone a whole year clean and you have learned to love yourself. They say she doesn't exist, but I know she does. She is the lilies adorned on your crown, the triumphs that came after your failures, the aspirins pumped from your stomach. She knows the world front to back, walking away from the building, ledged with heart in hand and tears pricking the eyes and relief swelling in the stomach. She is the healed crack in your heart and a mother returned from an eternity spent away from home. She is the realization of true happiness, the nights spent of dreaming of the future instead of dreading it. She's the soul of that wandering girl who's ascended to heaven with a smile. The reverse of the tide as it begs lovers to traverse its shores with short stories to tell. She is the cycle of life and death and life. You say she doesn't exist, but you know she does. Thank you very much.
Caitlin Castro, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Caitlin. Let's next hear from Grace Clark of Fitch High School. Grace?
Snowdrops. From beneath the depths of the snow and the soil and the mud, they emerge, reaching their leafy green hands up towards the sun, and opening their eyes to the world for the first time. They have seen none of the hardship that winter has wrought. While the evergreens shivered in the biting cold, they slumbered, wrapped in a warm cocoon of dirt. And while the mighty oak stood proud against the vicious wind, they waited, the snow nothing more than a soft blanket. They know nothing of the cruelty of Jack Frost and his army of soldiers made of ice. Instead, they arrive in the warm embrace of Mother Earth. They show none of the bitterness of unforgiving cold months. Instead, they speak of good things yet to come, heralds of the return of spring. Thank you. The science of music. At a glance, it's just an arrangement of dots set on lines printed on paper, Just a baton swishing through the air, carefully counting notes and rests and making sure to stay safely on the beat. But maybe it is something far greater than anyone could ever see. No logic, only feeling. A 1, 2, 3, 4 that seeps into your bones and perches inside your heart, and a pair of hands reaching deep within you and holding on tight. Flowing past, swifter than the wind. Never staying for more than a moment, and far too big to ever be captured in a cage of paper and ink. Stories. The page is blank. The cursor blinks once, twice, waiting for me to fill the spaces with words trapped on the tip of my tongue on the brink of spilling out. But I can't string my words into phrases like beads on a necklace. My thoughts are messy and jumbled, yarn twisted and looped around itself in tangled up knots. I'm curled up in an overlarge armchair, my nose tucked inside a beaten-up copy of my favorite book. Snow piles up in bright white drifts outside the window, and the wind howls angrily. But I don't look out at the white-coated world beyond the glass. The universe pressed between the pages of my book is far better than the real world could ever be. The earth spins from day to dusk, and the sky turns from cerulean to dark orange, yet I never once raise my face away from the words. I just want to stay in this land of dragons and magic and sword fights forever. My hands still rest on the keyboard, ready to type. I remember the stories of faraway lands and epic adventures and a new twist with every turn of a page, and I know I want to write like that. My fingers begin to move. Thank you.
Grace Clark, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear next from Naomi Jones of Waterford High.
Hi guys. I'm just gonna fix the microphone real quick. Is that good? Can you all hear me? Ooh, yes, God. All right. Y'all look great. All right, so I'm gonna do my poem called I Wonder. It is a poem. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it. Y'all get it? Okay. I wonder how many lifespans are stuck between breasts when you contemplate its last bar. 16 stanzas of overwritten demands, of underwritten proclamations to the worth of our lives. Like we lie to find character beneath our stupidity. As if recently, devotions with overgrown memorabilia have turned to memorable fields of emotion, kind of like an infant. Blatantly stuck on 2 words most of its first year of life. We're stuck in 2 fists worth to 1 fight. See if I can count to 10. 12 men are imprisoned, while 6 of those are shot, and 10 of those die behind 8 bars running flat behind 16 notes finding no rest, and 16 of those noted men with pens finding all but peaceful rest to write. So society plants candles instead of seeds, like they'll sprout change. What happens to those leaves when they'll begin to wilter underneath the emotional cadence? A filter of short safe havens. I wonder how many hands it takes to count the lives you take from mothers to brothers, as if all the rundown streets are filled with target practice. You laugh this off with a doubtful donut, while the American flag becomes 3/5 worth of its live freedom. Liberty literally litters the ideas of security through those wilted clouds that chase after the sun's rain, after the truth. No, I need you to prove that all men are really created equal, without condition or worry. I don't need your sympathy. Just simply scavenge a little bit of empathy through those wilted hands that trembles of value to those lives that actually matter. I wonder, how many times have you considered yourself 4 staffs from the blast of your own power problem? To rob them of life is to watch America's sun die. And though you raise them in the sky like what rains from it will save their kingship, your bullets have yet to push me from victory. Your blasphemy has still dragged me through the streets, just a freak in a show worth a show, but not enough to know the true value behind my smile. Just like those who clapped and cheered out the crackle of my death and celebrated the incineration of their fears. See, once I was dead, I'd never realized the weight steepled on top of my head, specifically pressured to fit a crown. I'd never realized the power within my hands to count how many times it took before I realized I was more to show than similes and metaphors, figuratively allowing me past the access of the king's ear. That personifications personified their inflictions on my crown. That there are 64 scores of Mozart more start the collection of my father's music. tuned to tone each one in force of a finger that never quite seemed to take up more than one space. You sheltered the ear of the people in domes of limited success. And since you were the only one past it, the four walls were labeled imperfect. Now imperfect, it seems our eyes have been open to your mischief, your misgift. You missed a chip of my backbone, now it kind of smells like the source of your power problems. Kind of feels like 12 bullets into the back while your face is cemented to the dirt. Kind of looks like rotten fruit, dangling from outgrown branches, hovering their own graves. See, we're all walking headstones. And our eyes are the only things left to shelter it. Our hands can no longer shield the metal lodged into our hearts that can no longer bleed the strength of our ancestry. You count your reflections by the motivations behind staying alive. And though you hold on to life by snapping ropes until your dangling fruit drops into its own grave and our stones actually read our names, I shall speak the value into your soul and hope that plant actually grows for harvest before it's burned to the ground by those who harness hate for our black, pink, purple, and charcoal. Their chalk holds stories still engraved into sidewalks. Their talk shields fear still burned into chokeholds, still shown on TV as a version of warning. A lesson that we're still lesser than our peers. See, society still has something wrong with it. When they tell your children there's something wrong with peaceful assembly, there's something wrong with unity. For by helping someone else escape from the abuse of power, I am lynched by knee to neck and face to cement and meaningless cuffs with helpless puffs of air. When will my value be broadcasted on air? When will my queenship be accepted by my heirs? See, if I leave the throne peacefully known that my king be by my side and the princess bride be pride and proud of the profound gift granted by God and sustained without man's inheritance, because it's still quite appalling. So respect the identity given unto me, because I'm worth my father's time. An inheritance of value, independent from value, no. I mean malphorisms of my royalty, no. I mean I'm royalty. So treat me like the subjects you teach me. I learned from excellency so eloquently that expectingly I'm worth the efficiency of your soul. So when I count the steps it takes before I reach the end of my cliff, I'll think twice before jumping off. Because the inhale stuck between blank stares and screams finally exhaled a hand to save me. Thank you.
Naomi Jones of Waterford High, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear next from Olivia Pecoraro, Poet Laureate of Norwich Free Academy.
Ginger ale. Another day to let thoughts boom. As I sit and make room, broom bristles sweep emotions under the rug, snug into the dustbins of my thoughts, my head of blood clots, of stale, day-old ginger ale that is pale like my bathroom wall, stalling the open air like old bread clumping in my throat. But these thoughts like bread feed and do the deeds we deem fit to be, see good in our society when piety is nothing but a concept, upsets the ones who cannot accept the fact, record the fact that maybe God doesn't believe in us or trust the book so ring by withered hands. I am agnostic. And as cautious and as nauseous as it makes me or shakes me to know that people have died because of a book and I look, what does not kill me makes me stranger and much harder to relate to. But is it fate to dissipate from view like that concept of love forced between two? You say you love me with clenched teeth, you stand above me, but you do not love me. Just the concept. And it is not a fact that you would be willing to accept, except of course I have yet to fret about the things that upset you. When I met you, I met me. So when I make room for two, a space for me and one for you, when we are not lovers, not of each other, and that is fine. Divine you are, defined by grapevines in your backyard. Shards of pottery separate the ankles of you and me. You and I. Agnostic and nauseous and cynically caustic. These thoughts that seep deep into my ginger ale, that is flat and stale like the mattress on my floor. Close the door, dear, fear not of the night. Night lights will keep us safe. Safes are locked and closed and filled up to the brink. I take out my ginger ale and I have a drink. The sea and I. Shuddered out through my shoulders and down my spine, rocking my whole body like waves pushed by the moon, and cresting white behind my eyelids, I haunt my own subconscious. How big and blue and beautiful I used to think when I saw the ocean, but now it is like the moment before a hurricane, when the slate gray sky swirls into itself and creates something so beautifully terrible that you cannot wait to see how hard it knocks down houses and rattles the fragile structures that dot the shoreline like the freckles on my back. I wish I was the ocean. How admired and so undiscovered that men and sailors and ship captains hold such reverence for my power and respect me for my beauty, yet I am the ocean in the sense that the world only knows 5% of what I truly am. And that something scary or stunning or massively beautiful lies just below my surface. I dig my fingers into my temples to find the smooth sea glass that are the words I write. In spite of the crackling salt burning down my throat, I will not paint myself as tortured, only erratic like the waves, but for now I will enjoy and sometimes detest the rolling waves in my mind, pushing and pulling thoughts, yanking them deep and spitting them up until they breach the sands of my frontal lobes and crest over the back of my eyes, white, blue, and beautiful, until the riptide grips my ankles and I become the sea. Thank you very much.
Olivia Pecoraro, ladies. Next, let's hear from Ruby Lee Robinson of Stonington High.
The first glimpse. There is something about bed-headed children uprooting themselves from the soft leather bus seats, trudging through the crisp spring rain and tumbling through the elementary school doors. Something about that same rain beating the building's brick walls to a shy pink before eroding into the grass that climbs relentlessly despite enduring weekly trims. And the recycled yogurt cups that line the first floor windowsills, bearing bean sprouts, nourished with carefully counted drops of water, as if any small disturbance could stop their growth. There is something about bugs and blood balanced on clean glass slides under microscopes, multiplying countless tiny ovals, that all of a sudden, that afternoon, we learn are inside us all, binding us together. Staying open. I hold out my sticky 4-year-old palms, eyes closed against the orange light that presses on my lids, waiting for the promise of relief and revelation. Open your eyes, my father says, and I see near the lifeline of my right hand a broken robin's egg shell, pale blue outside and gentle white inside. A good sign, he assures me. With no yellow yolk left, we can believe she has broken through those walls herself and survived her first flight. My father's wish, I know now, for me. Meeting my sister's other half. The smoke from the fireplace mingled with the sweet potato soup, wafted from the stovetop and settled through the kitchen. Stirring the iron pot with his left hand and thumbing through a yellowed novel with his right, Jordan read in a voice steady as silver the entire book. All 336 pages he read to us, while we cooked with the wind bending to meet our warm windows. On that sleeting evening, I grew to know him not from the formal introduction, but by the way words dripped from his lips like the leaving light. I saw his patience and love for my sister, to read to her like that, and hot cider spread its warmth like wings in my belly, the way he so quickly became my brother. Curry stained raw chicken as it was folded in with his wooden spoon, and he read that there is no right way to live, but I think this might be it. Thank you.
Ruby Lee Robinson, ladies and gentlemen. And finally, let's hear from Olivia Triplett of Ledyard High.
One day I'll find a flower shop with roses fresh in bloom, which I'll place on the windowsill until the sweetness fills the room. One day you'll find my usual route as my eyes brighten with falling snow, and we'll talk about how lovely it is that, though it's cold, things can grow. One day you'll look out the window and say, "What a lovely view," and I, of course, will agree while looking straight at you. I live for arrows. I live for arrows drawn on paper that show A leads to B and there isn't another way. I can explain in detail how African parasites evade our body's complex immune system. I can differentiate a multivariable equation in a number of minutes. I can tell you how we work, how millions of years of evolution has perfected and refined and perfected again, how a single electrical pulse is responsible for everything you have ever done, every winning point, every kiss and hug, every ace test. But one thing I can't explain, something I can't understand, can't quantify or categorize, is the physical pain that you feel inside when you miss someone so much, how your heart breaks in two when you look across the room and they aren't there. This is a villanelle called Darkness Can Only Bring Something New. Darkness can only bring something new. The stars from the sky are in my eyes, and dreams shall bleed into reality too. There is only so much you can go through. My smile really did take me by surprise. Darkness can only bring something new. Time only told me what I already knew. Every night must end and the sun will rise, and dreams shall bleed into reality too. Can you tell what is wrong and what is true? Up to now has only been hows and whys. Darkness can only bring something new. Why sleep when wakefulness has a new hue? The glow of the moon has made me wise, and dreams shall bleed into reality too. The passing of days turned my mind askew, but I shall never let the lows bring down the highs. Darkness can only bring something new, and dreams shall bleed into reality too. My final is a personal favorite of mine called Dear November. Dear November, I have missed you. It has been quite a while. Dear November, I told myself it can't be true, but I am no longer a child. Dear November, it's quite stunning. The world can get away with this crime. Dear November, I'm out of breath from running out of all this precious time. Dear November, things are changing. The leaves melted from the trees. Dear November, my mind is raging. I can't stop the shaking in my knees. Dear November, these nights are longer, these days just a little bit colder. Dear November, I thought that I was stronger. I don't want to get older. Dear November, I think that I'm okay. I just feel a little cold like the snow. Dear November, take me away. I think that I'm ready to go. Thank you very much.
Olivia Triplett, ladies and gentlemen. The Student Poets Laureate of the High Schools of Eastern Connecticut. the voices of hope, of the future. It's touching, isn't it? Before we move on to the musical segment of our show, I want to take a moment to recognize and thank the teachers who have played a key role in the artistic lives of these young poets. By nurturing their talent and organizing their selection as Poets Laureate of their schools, behind every good artist are inspiring and dedicated teachers. Let me recognize them by name. From Fitch High, Jerry DeSantis. From Stonington High, Mary Lou Brockett Devine. From Ledyard High, Amanda Fagan. From Montville High, Wendy Halsey. From the Norwich Free Academy, Kim Roberts. And from Waterford High, Terry Tessier. If we had time, I would introduce to you also the parents of our Poets Laureate. Hell, if we had time, I'd introduce all of you. But seriously, if you are the parents of these fine and interesting young people, you have much to be proud of, and you too are to be congratulated. So on with our show. We're very excited about tonight's music, which will be served up by the euphoniously named the Brazen Youth. Formed 2 years ago by the then 15-year-olds Charles Dalkey and Nicholas Luster, the Brazen Youth have taken atmospheric alternative indie rock to a place beyond their years. Honored at the 2015 Whaley Awards in New London this past summer, they picked up Song of the Year and Best Indie Performance in their first nominations. This came fast on the heels of their winning performance at the Hard Rock Cafe in Boston during the New England Radar Awards for Best Act Under 21 in New England. Their debut album, New Life, was described by Scope magazine as heartfelt and beautiful, and I would add that these young singer-songwriters composed strong, sophisticated, and original lyrics and melodies. The Brazen Youth are currently developing their next concept album, The Ever-Dying Bristlecone Man. I can't wait. It's hard to believe that these guys are still in high school, but let's give a listen to their music as we welcome the Brazen Youth.
I don't see you anymore. I don't feel my feet anymore. So how do I know they exist? And the walls are closing again. The ones that we built to protect So I'll tie a rope to your leg as you wander.
This next track is titled Air is Water.
I will float through the air. I will float as long as the air is water. I will float and appear on your rooftop where you'll be sitting, and I will meet you. Like a feather tied to a sidewalk, I will sway. As long as the air is active, I will sway to the tone of the world, and constellations will bring me to you. Won't you reassess me again? Reassess me again. Reassess me again. Despite what you said, I'll win at cut off my hands. I don't wanna feel you again. I don't wanna see you with men other than the one who took you from God.
Our featured poet tonight is Kate Rushin. Kate grew up in Camden, New Jersey, a once mighty industrial center that had become a blighted working class city if ever there were one. The voices she heard while growing up in Camden became the stuff of her remarkable poetry, best exemplified by her prize-winning book, The Black Backups. These voices include those of uppity, irate black women, as she characterizes the 3 generations of her family matriarchs. There are also the voices of the little kids who don't take no kind of stuff off a nobody. These voices and others make for a tough but compellingly alive poetry whose importance is very hard to turn away from. It is this poet's art that affirms the dignity of the hard, gritty lives she reports on. It is not precisely nor solely sympathy we feel for the downtrodden people in the Black Backups, but instead we gain understanding and insight into their struggle. Her poems are original for the way in which she gives useful voice to people who would otherwise be silent and forgotten. Miss Rushin made it out of Camden, attended Oberlin Graduate School at Brown. She's held fellowships from the Fine Arts Work Center in Provincetown and the Cave Canem Foundation, and has taught poetry at Wesleyan and the Greater Hartford Academy of the Arts. Her poetry has been widely published and anthologized, and has won the Grolier Poetry Prize and Roslow Rome Poetry Prize. And The Black Backups was a New York Public Library Books for Teens selection. She has read her poetry on NPR and is a regular panelist on NPR's The Colin McEnroe Show. My friends, the Arts Café is proud to present to you Kate Rushin.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here. It's good to see you. And I'm going to calm myself down with a poem. Right now I'm working with hot schools at an elementary school in New Haven. And every day, one of the 5-year-olds asks me to recite this poem. And I've decided that what I've learned from the 5-year-olds applies to humans of all ages. So, the rapper as light. I am bad and tough enough, super cool and super jive. Just listen to my rap, I don't tell no lies. My lips are all honey and my heart is pure gold. My clothes are all fine, you know my rap is bold. My rings are all rubies, I don't deal with glass. If you can't cut it, better get lost fast. I glitter like diamonds, I glisten like dew. I gleam like gold, I glow through and through. My eyes shine yellow and my hair is glossy black. You can't play with me, I don't cut no slack. When the sun sees me coming, he just steps aside. When the sun sees me coming, he just tries to hide. When I talk of my stuff, but just to listen to me, I can make you glad, I fill your heart with glee. So listen to my rap, see the glint in my eye, you'll feel a glimmer of hope, I electrify. I outshine the sun, I'm quick as a cat. I am the light, and you know that. So it's a real honor to be here tonight, and I want to thank Christy Matz-Williams and the board for the invitation. I had the opportunity of working with the Student Poets Laureate this afternoon. We had a great time, and it was really great to meet them, and I hope to meet their families and their teachers after the reading tonight. You know, while I was sitting here, I realized there are people from from so many of my poetry communities here tonight, and it's really wonderful. I see you, I appreciate it. I see people from the Sunken Garden Poetry Festival. I see people from the Hygienic and the Rue reading series. I see people from Connecticut River Poets, my poetry group. And it's really wonderful. I see people from Poetic Mondays, I see people from Wesleyan, I see people from the Langston Hughes community reading. It's just wonderful. I really appreciate you being here. I'm going to read this first poem. Is for the student laureates. We were talking, the student poets laureate. We were talking this afternoon about how artists get put in a box. Artists get stereotyped. And we're talking about how sometimes in school, especially in junior high and high school, people can kind of get, well, put in a box. You know, they're deemed a jock or an egghead, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is for you, the student laureates. It's called the math poem. The universe is made of stories, not atoms. Muriel Rukeyser. I was never good at math. Words, stories, English was my territory. Dawn was the smart one in science. Merton had the corner on math. Knowledge was a fixed quantity in our universe. We had the proof. There was plenty of fear, but not enough intelligence to go around. I was never good at math. It was a fate I accepted as fact, gender, genetics. I ducked my head and wrenched bees out of my brain. Our teacher cursed us in advance, proclaimed we'd do better just for spite, up at the good high school, guaranteed, rumored to guarantee our future. Our teacher cursed us in advance, proclaimed we'd do better just for spite, up at the good high school, rumored to guarantee our future, that infinitely advancing point on a disappearing horizon. I was never good at math. It wasn't until years later, living a future I'd never imagined in a tiny Massachusetts apartment with sloping wooden floors, I watched a science show on public television and learned about a clerk named Ramanujan. He'd traveled from India to England, Madras to Cambridge in 1913 to claim his mathematical destiny. When I saw his scores of notebooks brimming with calculations that had taken him months to do by hand, I jumped up. I yelled at the television in recognition and disbelief. I scribbled down the address to send for a pamphlet summing up the life of an Indian mathematician. So that's what P stands for. So that's how you get a formula. Why didn't anybody let us in on the secret? The secret that theorems are not handed down by a God who favors particular hair, particular skin, private schools, and orthodontia. How were we supposed to remember what we'd never seen or imagined? I want to start over, demand a refund, a clean slate. I want to reach back, grab my teachers by their collars, pummel them by rote, hold them upside down by their ankles and shake until that privileged information slips loose from their pockets and clatters at my feet. I was never good at math until one day I saw it was all about power, patterns, stories, the world in another tongue. It was all about my actual heart pumping my actual blood through my actual veins. I ride this diesel engine bus, cover these miles, cross this bridge, arrive at Land's End 4:23 p.m. precisely, sunset, low tide, this season, this hemisphere, this earth. I never believed I could be good at math until one day I saw. I could see it was just one more awestruck, made-up, imaginary language. One of the other things we talked about, we did some exercises today, and we did a memory exercise. So I'll continue with the memories. When I came home, the weeping willow had finally fallen. There used to be snapdragon, coxcomb, and chrysanthemum. There was an apple tree, a dogwood, a mimosa, and there were roses. 20 tons of roses. I haven't seen floating island pudding since Sunday dinner. White linen tablecloth, yellow cake, no icing. Lemons snuck out of the iced tea glasses. Nobody at the school had ever heard of it. Maybe Grandma made it up. The island part is beaten egg whites. The pudding is the water. See, I'll read the title poem. I read a lot about music. We talked about writing inspired by art today, and I'm certainly inspired by music and musicians and singers. This is called The Black Backups. And it's in honor of all of the people who work in the background to make things happen. And they're everywhere. They're in this room. The Black Backups. This is dedicated to Mary Clayton, Fontella Bass, Vanetta Washington, Carolyn Franklin, Yolanda McCullough, Carolyn Willis, Gwen Guthrie, Helene Harris, and Darlene Love. This is for all of the Black women who sang backup for Elvis Presley, John Denver, James Taylor, Lou Reed, etc., etc., etc. I said, hey, babe, but take a walk on the wild side. I said, hey, babe, but take a walk on the wild side. And the colored girls say, doo-doo, 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 ooh. This is for my great-grandmother Esther, my grandmother Addie, my grandmother called sister, my great-aunt Rachel, my aunt Hilda, my aunt Teen, my aunt Rita, my aunt Gladys, my aunt Helen, my aunt Ellie, my cousin Barbara, my cousin Dottie, and my great-great-aunt Veen. This is dedicated to all of the Black women riding on buses and subways back and forth to the main line, Haddonfield, Cherry Hill, and Chevy Chase. This is for the women who spend their summers in Rockport, Newport, Cape Cod, and Camden, Maine. This is for the women who opened those bundles of dirty laundry sent home from those ivy-covered campuses. My great-aunt Rachel worked for the Carters ever since I can remember. There was the boy whose name I never knew, and there was the girl whose name was Jane. Great-aunt Rachel brought Jane's dresses for me to wear. They were perfectly good clothes, and I should have been glad to get them. Perfectly good clothes, no matter they didn't fit quite right. Perfectly good clothes brought home in a brown paper bag with an air of accomplishment and excitement. Perfectly good clothes, which I hated. At school in Ohio, I swear to God, there was always somebody telling me that the only person in their whole house who listened and understood them, despite the money and the lessons, was the housekeeper. And I knew it was true, but what was I supposed to say? I know it's true. I watch her getting off the train, moving slowly toward the country squire with her uniform and her shopping bag. And the closer she gets to the car, the more the two little kids jump and laugh, and even the dog is about to turn inside out because they just can't wait until she gets there. Edna, Edna, wonderful Edna. But Aunt Edna to me, or Graham, or Ms. Johnson, or Sister Johnson on Sundays. And the colored girls say doo 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 doo. Ooh, this is for Hattie McDaniel, Butterfly McQueen, Ethel Waters, Sapphire, Saffronia, Ruby Begonia, Aunt Jemima. Aunt Jemima on the pancake box. Aunt Jemima on the pancake box. Aunt Jemima on the pancake box. Ain't your mama on the pancake box? Mama, mama, get off of that box and come home to me. And my mama leaps off of that box. She swoops down in her nurse's cape, which she wears on Sunday and for Wednesday night prayer meeting. And she wipes my forehead, and she fans my face, and she makes me a cup of tea. And it don't do a thing for my real pain, except she is my mama. Mama. Mommy. Mama. Mommy. Mammy. 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 I'd walk 1,000,000 miles for one of her smiles. This is for the black backups. This is for my mama and your mama, my grandma and your grandma. This is for the 1,000 black backups. And the colored girls say, doo-doo, 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 doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo, doo, doo. Thank you. So the other thing, the other exercise we did today, we're here in the beautiful Mystic Museum of Art, newly designated. And when I did not know we were going to be surrounded by student art, but what I asked the students to do, what I asked the laureates to do, is to go around and to choose a poem. I'm sorry, to choose a work of art that spoke to them, and to write a poem inspired by one of the works of art. There are people here from the Connecticut River Poets, and we have an association with the Florence Griswold Museum in Old Lyme, and every show we get to go and choose a work of art and to write in response to the work of art. So I'd like to read a couple of those poems. This one is called The Artist Speaks. Anne Bell, Free Person of Color, 1814, 1885. This was from this was inspired by an exhibit of the Hudson River poets. And it's after Albany from Van Rensselaer's Island, 1850. And it's a persona poem. It's written in the imaginary voice of this artist. We don't know much about her. The Artist Speaks. From the moment I first saw W.G. Wall's engraving, I was enthralled. I had only known that scene from our neighborhood, our home on Arbor Hill. What a strange thrill to see our changing world depicted so. Quiet, outsized trees, men going about their work transporting cattle by flatboat to the island farm. In the distance, spires. Opportunity to draw and paint was a gift that I, a woman born during the time of bondage, could not take for granted. Providence and God-given desire to learn led me to my work. I am grateful for color, canvas, instruction. Some dismiss my efforts as those of mimicker. Are we not taught to model ourselves? Are we not at liberty? Permit me, if you will, my eye, my determination, my patience figured in the composition of this glowing mystery. Look through this gilded oval aperture into a world that no longer exists. I invite you to look closely. There is so much to see. And we also responded to, this is the Connecticut River Poets, responded to an exhibit by Peter Haley and his big paintings. And he does those big, giant, multicolored, bright, neon paintings, abstract with squares. I think he calls them cells, cubes, and conduits, I think he calls it. And I looked through the whole exhibit, and I went back to his very first painting in this series. And you can just get a sense from the page. It's black. It was 4 canvases painted black, and this is his other work. You can see it's very bright. So this is black on black on black, and it's black is spelled small, lowercase BLK. So every time I say black, imagine BLK. And this is after Peter Haley's weekend. Black on black on black. 3 squares painted black. See nuance, variation on a theme. 3 squares painted black. Anybody could do that, but anybody doesn't. Black on black on black sounds monochromatic, monolithic, monotonous. Black on black sounds vaguely ominous. Black on black sounds classy, like a night out. Black silk on rough black silk. But wait a minute, that black line down the center of asphalt, where does that go? Black on black sounds like a lost weekend, the good kind. Oh, you know, I wanted to say, it really means a lot to me to be here tonight. I was first invited years ago by Melanie Greenhouse, and I'm glad to be here again. And Melanie actually initiated the Student Poets program. So let's give Melanie. And I'm going to end with 2 poems inspired by music. So if you could believe it, I can barely believe it, I happened to be present at the last public performance of the late, great Sarah Vaughan. I know, can't believe it, right? And I realized, I used to tell the story, and I said, oh, I've got to write the poem. Can't just tell the story. So this is, I love Sarah Vaughan. I know many people love her. I love Aretha Franklin. I love Ella Fitzgerald. And I feel very special that I was able to see Sarah Vaughan here. It's called The Divine One. Miss Sarah Vaughan at the Blue Note, New York City, October 1989. That last night, they packed us in at small tables, elbow to elbow. My jazz friend treated me to the pricey ticket, 2-drink minimum. I craned my neck to peer down the long mahogany bar. Don't think there was any staying on to meet her. No, they herded us right up and out, herded in the long line for the second show. But in between, there she was, Miss Sarah Vaughan, live. Nothing between me and that liquid gold voice but the waves of light and sound. Despite bandaged wrist, complaints about the sound, cussing out the sound guy, putting him out, despite everything, there we were and there she was, each one of us alone together, our divine one indeed. Ours because we knew her, went to the same school, the same church, walked the same streets. We knew her style, her hairdo, her handkerchief. We knew her genius and beauty and what it all cost. She was the girl from Newark and Mount Zion Baptist, the teenager at the Apollo, then on the road with the guys, the woman bold enough to use her instrument as she pleased. And did she sing? Sang for herself, for love and folks long gone. Sang what she'd seen since Hi-Fi, 1955. Sang because she decided to sing. She decided to sing despite bad memories and the worst news. Sang for me, her voice, molten glass wind chimes. Her voice, a smoldering ember in amber. Sadly, she had received the word during that trip to New York that she had cancer, and I think it was a Friday night, and she canceled the next night and had to fly home. So I'm going to end with this. Another one of my favorites is John Coltrane, and I wrote this in honor of Michael S. Harper's 75th birthday for a symposium given in his honor at the University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri. It's called Giant Steps, or 7-league boots. Necessary fragments, life circumscribed by incoherence, crucial coalescence. Say, love what you love, I hear you. Say, love what you love, I hear you. Say, nobody can do that for you. Love what you love. That day we brought our fathers to the gate. We could not have passed through without them. Giant steps, excruciating beauty, sweet genius, breath, sound, beat, breath, sound, beat. Black reed man riding vibrato currents, breath, sound, beat. breath, sound, beat. Bright passages connect seen, unseen worlds, breath, sound, beat. Breath, sound, beat. Brownstone roses link ancestor futures, breath, sound, beat. Speaker of the word made flesh, breath, sound, beat. Hewer of the word made place, breath, sound, beat. Mountains, midlands, sea to sea to sea. Mountains, midlands, sea to sea to sea. Breath, sound, beat. 'Cause you will it, protect, love, embody. Breath, sound, beat. 'Cause you can, play the changes. Play the changes. Imagine, transmit grace. Breath, sound, beat. Breath, sound, beat. Breath, sound, beat. Breath, sound, beat.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks also to the Brazen Youth and to the High School Poets Laureate. For those of you who would like to take Kate Rushin's book home tonight, The Black Backups, I'm sure she would be glad to sign your copy. The Arts Cafe, as I mentioned earlier, will return in April 29th with Jeffrey Harrison, the Mike Casey Trio, and a mini play by Melanie Greenhouse. Our final thanks, as always, are reserved for you, our audience. The Arts Cafe is a tribute to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is community, and doesn't it feel good? Thank you.